Screen two. Welcome to Coffee Connect, everyone. Am I recording? Yes, good deal. So I'm Roddy, I'm the host here. If you like what you hear this morning, please do me a favor and email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com. I can get you on the email invite list so you always know what those topics are. Another way to find out what the topics are as well, kind of go back and view any past episodes, is go to www.addictedtoconnecting.com and you can link into the YouTube channel there and kind of check out the past episodes. And so also up in the right hand corner, you see we're at 19 right now for the year. In March 31st, when we celebrated our anniversary, we kind of set a goal that we wanted 100 new attendees. I'll update that later on today because now with Rob joining us today, that makes it 20. And I'll update that so that gets updated. But we're well on track, I think, guys, to reach 100 in the following year. And looking forward to sharing every bit of it with as many of you as possible. And so today, I wanted to kind of dive into this topic of understanding ourselves. We've got a lot of great conversations coming up here in the near future with several speakers that are going to dive into kind of our mindset, our subconscious, and how we can help control ourselves. And I thought, well, first we might want to kind of figure out what does that vision look like. And so knowing that we were doing Memorial Day weekend this weekend, right, I thought this was a great conversation to have, mainly because I think we can all attest to the fact that when soldiers or sailors or Marines, right, when they went into battle, and this is a depiction of the Civil War way back, right, which happens to be, by the way, why Memorial Day came about, right? It was actually called Decoration Day initially, and then transgressed into Memorial Day in 1971, which happens to be the same year I was born. I just want you guys to know that, okay? You know, when folks would enlist into the Army or volunteer to go do what they were going to go do, right, I think we all understand that there was some agreements that they had to make with themselves, right? And I don't care whether it was the Civil War or it was 9/11 when the firefighters and police and all of our first responders responded so greatly, right? Or it was possibly D-Day on the invasion of Normandy or anything like that, when those soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen were making amends with what was going to happen or what could happen, right? They had to understand what was going to be their limitation, right, to letting themselves go forward and actually accomplish the mission and do great things. And so at some point, you've got to make a reflection, right? You've got to take a reflection on who you are today, maybe how other people see you as well. Who are you wanting to be, right? Who are you wanting to be seen as in the future? And so I just wanted to kind of dive into this topic today a little bit as far as understanding ourselves and understanding how we reflect on ourselves, and the fact that it's not just the voices in our head, right? But it's those visualizations that can play a trick or trigger to allowing us to become the person that we want to be. So in this next slide, right, as we look at this next slide, can anybody tell me which circle is bigger?
Total trick question there, Rodney.
Why do you say that, Jeff?
I am a firm believer that they are the same size, and
I agree.
I'm looking, I'm trying to catch the catch here.
But the right one, the one on the right, looks bigger because of the way the colors are.
So there's obviously things that can allow us to perceive things that aren't really real, right? The fact that one thing could be bigger than the other just simply based on its surroundings, right? And so just quick conversation here, right, before I go on to the next slide, I'll open up the room, right? How many times have you you've been endured in something in your life and you go, oh my gosh, and you're overwhelmed, but really the circumstances may not have been as overwhelming as what you thought they were. Does anybody have any explanations or anything to share as far as how that relates?
I would just say, not any explanations here, but just a comment to that. I just saw something this morning that said, so take that circle, right? And that circle, whatever circumstance it might be, maybe this big now. In a week, it gets a little smaller. In a month, it gets a little smaller. And then a year, a little bit smaller from that. So again, you talk about like what you think is maybe something that is overwhelming at the time. A week from it starts to shrink. So just a comment to that.
So that's a great comment, Rob. So can we all agree that if we could have the perception today that we're going to have 3 weeks from now or a month from now or 3 months from now, when that circle's this big, right? How much easier would it be to look at that obstacle, right, and go, screw this, I'm going through it.
A lot easier.
Right? It's a lot easier. Right. And so, but often we look at this going, oh, well, this is where we were, and look at that circle and look at this is where we're going. That circle's bigger yet, or maybe it's not as big, but we have these different perceptions sometimes because of the circumstances and everything that are around us. So let's keep going on with the same conversation here, guys. I'm gonna share another one with you, right? So when we look at this next slide, right? Of all of the checkers there, right? Especially when we are looking at the checker A and checker B, right? Are either one of those darker or lighter than the other? Right? Are either one of those darker or lighter than the other?
A seems to be darker.
A seems to be darker. Does anybody agree with Lamar?
Yes.
Yes.
It seems to be.
It seems to be, right? It appears to be at this point because we're like, well, it is a darker checker, a darker square to begin with, and so B is a lighter square, and it would appear to be lighter, right? But as we add again, just perspective to kind of isolate those two things, there's really not that much difference between them. Okay. The shadow of the green cylinder off to the side, right? It has broadcast its shadow over top of B, almost making it just like A. And so as we go to breakout one, guys, I want you to think about, what reflection do you aspire to be the truth about you? When you're projecting yourself out there, what do you want people to see? Today, if you were to look in that mirror and try and figure out what do I actually see, right? What do you see? Share that as well. And what do you think others actually see in you, right? I mean, I think overall we can understand ourselves, right? We can get to a point where we understand ourselves, but the whole reason we want to understand ourselves is so we know how to better project ourselves to those that are around us. Does that make sense? Right. So let me shuffle up some breakout rooms.
Could you put those in the chat, or I was trying to write them?
Yep. Hold on. Yep. I can put them in the chat. Awesome. Awesome. So real quick, guys, we went back out to that breakout room, and often we find, I wanted to highlight, because Mary was like, well, we can just have this whole conversation, all of us together. And I think sometimes when we're all in the same room, especially in a larger group, right, we aren't as open to sharing information. So that's why I like to go to the breakout rooms. When we have 3 or 4 people, I think it becomes a little bit easier for folks to share. But I do want to bring everybody back. We just lost somebody. I just wanted to bring everybody back and ask them, you know, what have we learned about each other? I mean, we don't have to, if you want to share your story, that's fine. You can share your story, but what have we learned about all of those discussions that we just had?
Authenticity.
What about authenticity, Jeff?
I kind of want to put Rob on the hot seat. No, you it's not a bad thing to aspire. It's kind of a baseline, and it's it's a very broad term, a very broad idea. But if you can aspire to be authentic, everything's going to kind of fill out nicely. That goes for your relationships, your career. It's just kind of the authenticity seed. Strive for it. Don't just say, okay, I'm authentic and now I'm like, my work is done here. You really have to kind of keep that seed in mind basically at all times and just kind of grow from it.
You know, time in the Navy, right? Right around my 8-9 year point, I was an E6, working to be an E7, right, on my path to be a chief petty officer for the, and everyone, you know, I had all these people feeding into my brain. They're like, dude, you're going to make it the first time up. You're going to make it the first time up. You're going to make it the first time up. Because you got to go through a board process and selection process and stuff, right? And like all of their encouragement, including my wife and my in-laws and my parents, right? All of their encouragement had me convinced, although I was ready personally to be like, I'm ready to step out of the Navy and move on. But all of their encouragement and all of their words and all of their love, right, it really had me convinced as well that, holy cow, man, I'm going to make chief first time up. And then from that point on, guys, it became hard for me to actually visualize anything other than being a master chief. Like that was it, right?
And is the Master Chief an 8 or a 9?
That's a 9. That's it's as high as it goes, right? I couldn't even fathom being anything other than a Master Chief Petty Officer at that point, right? And that's the highest you can go in the enlisted ranks. I mean, I guess I could have went on to become the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, but I got to be honest, like I didn't want that headache at all, right? That wasn't my vision, because I'm a people person. Master Chief Petty Officer in the Navy is really, they work out of the Pentagon, right? They're underneath the Chief of Staff and stuff like that. I don't know how much people touching they've got, right? But so it became hard. But fast forward, right? Here I am, 9 years out of the Navy, and it is, and I shared with Erica and Mary and Bob, right, in our group, it is really difficult sometimes for me to kind of create that vision of who I want to be, or reflect that vision of who I want to be in the next 5 or 10 years, right? Not just to my family, but to my community and everybody around me, right? And so there's obviously, I think one thing I learned for all of us, right? We all have fears. I think we all have a fear of what we are projecting and what we want that to look like for others, right? Does that make sense? What else did we learn? Anything else?
Can I give you your goal, Rodney, for the next 5 to 10 years?
Go for it.
Continue to be a difference maker. You're doing it in this group, you're doing it for your clients, you're doing it for your community, you're doing it for those in search mode in the Cincinnati area. Just keep making a difference.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I mean, you know, your words mean a lot to me as well. Well, I often try and send you an email back as well. Appreciate it. But so what about you guys?
I think I'll speak. I think that this is Mary. I think that people who are in job transition are questioning everything. They've kind of lost direction. So, you know, when you get in a job, you're going and you kind of know who you are, and you know, we all are many times what we do for a living. And I think when you end up in transition, that's a time when you question everything, and you question, maybe I'm going to change directions, or maybe I'm going to, you know, take on something else or be something else. I think at your core, you're still the same person and you still want the same things, but you really kind of question everything. That's what I think happens. But so it's a difficult question for some of us that are in job transition.
And I think that's a great point, Mary. Right? I mean, when things don't go as maybe we planned or we expected or whatever else, it's easy to go back and go, oh, did I choose the right career? Was that the right option? Was that the right way to go? Or was that the right thing to do? Or, was I making the right connections or what? You just, sometimes it's easier to go that route. Well, I think I would encourage when those things happen, right? I mean, Bob said that he wants to be known as the person who listens, right? I mean, and I think many of us have had one-on-one conversations with Bob, right? That I think we know him to be that person, right? I would encourage you when those things come up, regardless of whether you're in transition or you're someone who feels like you've got a firm grasp on where you're wanting to go, you just kind of need some clarity, right? To find that Bob, right? To find that Bob Betty that'll listen to you. Because often, even in our small group, right, just hearing me say what I said to Mary and Bob and Erica made me sit there and go, oh, I wish at one moment I was like, man, I wish I was recording the daggone breakout room, because for me to hear my voice say that again and again and again is going to get me to understand where I'm wanting to be and wanting what reflection I'm truly wanting to portray for those around me, right? So not everything can be as simple. If somebody's got something, go ahead and unmute, because I'm trying to go back to the screen here.
I had a quick question, Rodney.
Yes, sir.
Why don't everybody just in the chat put one word they would use to describe themselves?
That's a good idea. That's a great idea. Share that in the chat, guys. And also, if you haven't done so far, right, feel free to put your contact information in there and get connected with everybody on the group. Not everything is as simple as the forest, right, reflecting off of a lake. That forest wakes up in the morning, right? Sunshine or no shine, it is going to look the same with slight changes as the seasons go throughout, right? But it wakes up looking at its beauty every day, knowing what it's probably going to be tomorrow, right? Or having an idea of what it's going to be tomorrow. And so we all got to find ways to kind of look at ourselves and go, this is what I was today. Tomorrow I'm going to be more beautiful, right? How do I get to that point where I can reflect that? Now, don't go spacing out on me yet. All right, we've all got things going on in our lives. How many of you guys actually see wheels turning right now? I can't see you guys, so hopefully you guys are raising your hands. So I want you to take a minute. If you've got things turning, if you've got some of these snakes turning on you right now, right? Find one of them and just focus on the center point. And you'll find out that all of them around you will stop moving. But the minute you stop focusing on that one center thing, they all start moving again, right? Now, as we started talking earlier, and we reflected on the fact that the circles were the same size, right? The shades of gray may have been pretty much the same. What's the illusion that allows you to have things moving or not moving? Right? What's the one thing that you were able to do to stop things from moving?
Are you requesting what are the physical structures in our occipital lobe that causes the illusion, or are you asking the philosophical questions?
Both. We want to talk about both of them. Right? What causes the illusion in the first place?
Part of it is our eyes are saccading continuously, so all those different patterns are continuously being seen from different angles as we look at them. We just can't detect these without having a proper image in front of us that will allow us to know that it's going on.
So how many of you were able to focus in on the center of one of them? It doesn't have to be the center one, the center of any of them, And all of a sudden the other 13 or 14 of them stop moving. Right? Because the reality is none of them are moving. But in our lives, right, we get so focused on all of this stuff that we're unable to actually make an improvement on the one thing that might make a difference and stop everything else from moving, right? Or stop all the background noise in our lives, right? All the what ifs, right, Mary? Right? All the questioning of, was it the right decision, or what, was I the right fit, or was I the, listen, we can, all of those things are just moving wheels, right? And the reality is the only thing we can control is what? Ourselves, right? Ourselves. So on this next breakout room, right? We're going to go to this next breakout room, and I want you to kind of start thinking about what you can do. I'm going to switch the slides, right? We understand that visual, right? Visual stimulation, right, is a big trigger to us becoming who we desire or what we're wanting to do. We've talked different times about like vision boards and stuff like that, and that's great if we're doing those, right? But I guess I want you to share in the breakout rooms, or we can do it here in the big group, right? What are we doing right now? What are things that you've done in the past, maybe to help you visualize the person you want to be, versus being the mountain that you have to climb, maybe being the sunset, right? Or the ocean? We'll just stay here.
Okay.
What are some things you guys are doing?
Coming here.
Coming here, right?
Everyone's on a personal development path. Some of us are just more conscious about how we do that than others. What books you read, what images you allow yourself, you focus on, who you talk to, who you hang out with.
Exactly. Surrounding yourself with the right people is a huge thing, right? I mean, I can't even imagine where I would be like if I had a bunch of negative people that came into this group every week and all we want to do is sit here and complain about stuff, right? I don't even know where my life would be, right? But the fact that we come in here and we're positive and we influence each other with encouraging words and stuff like that, I think allows us to take that next step, right? Lamar?
I'm working on becoming a better listener, and it's an uphill battle because I love to talk and share experiences and give examples. Da 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 da.
So keeping in mind with that, right? You want to become a better listener. What's your visual? What's your visual that you're using to go, I want to be like that?
I try to visualize myself with a slash line that says I'm on mute.
On Zoom, that makes it easy, right? you can literally put yourself on mute. And I know I do it with clients a lot. When I'm with clients, I'll have my hand over my mouth like this a lot to do that, right? Put myself on mute and listen.
Actually, I pretend that I'm Bob Petty, who's a great listener.
What else? What else you guys got?
Well, this whole exercise is a reflection of how unhealthy I am behaving right now, because when we described ourselves in one word, my word was unemployed. I'm so consumed with employment, and that's my identity right now. So I would rather, what was the question again?
What visuals are we creating?
Right.
What are we doing to help create something of a better?
I would rather do something focused, visualize myself as more than just employed, but kind of happy with myself and appreciative of my surroundings, like every day understanding the world and itself more so than just focused on employment.
Erica, you're not alone. You're not. It's not unusual for people to say what you just said. So don't beat yourself up because you feel that way.
I have a word for you, Erica. I'm in transition. I'm looking for that place where I can make a big difference.
Well, I mean, unemployed, transition, job search, I use all of those. I think I need to stop equating myself with my employment. Otherwise, my self-esteem, my image is never going to change, and I'm letting it be controlled by external circumstances. I gotta be centered and have an identity outside of employed, unemployed, in transition, not in transition, landed, not landing.
I always had a problem growing up, and I still have the same problem. I'm short. And yet I'm too competitive, and I'm too competitive, and I'm muting.
Rob?
I was just gonna say, Erica, you're certainly not alone in that. So I feel the same way. When talking to people that have been in transition and have successfully navigated out, and they share some of their learnings, one of the big things that they learned is, you know what, it's a journey. And when else are you going to have this time on your hands to be able to explore who you are, to be able to try different things that aren't career defining? Right. And so for myself, I try to say, you know what, I have more time now on my hands to dedicate to my 4 kids. Like, I can go pick them up from school now, whereas before I couldn't. I can see them to preschool where I couldn't before. So there are things there, but I need to remind myself of that like hourly, because if I don't, then I just slip right back into who I am and what I've been about for my entire career, which has been very career focused. So you're definitely not alone in that.
Rob, to your point, staying positive is a full-time job. You have to remind yourself regularly to
Yep.
Glasses half full. And Erica, you obviously have incredible self-awareness. A lot of people who attach their identity to their employment status, they don't even realize it, or they barely realize it and just don't care. It's just full blast at all times. So the fact that you're actually saying the words, oh, I need to, not have my identity so strongly connected to my employment status, that right there is the first step to being a healthy, I believe your exact words were, you're not behaving in a healthy manner. So your first step to overcoming that is the self-awareness. So good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Erica, I have found that I'm very, very pensive right now. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what I want or where I want to be. And I beat myself up a little bit on the time I spend just being pensive. But what you have to do is, the job search can take a long time and can take a lot of your life. You have to step away from it and do something you enjoy at least once a week to keep yourself up and to let go of that fear and that concern for a while. All right? I mean, yeah, it's tough. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
So not in job search, but definitely going through some changes because my daughter graduated, my son's about to graduate. These last 2 months, 3 months, I would say the last 17 years, right? My wife and I haven't done a whole lot of stuff for us because it has been about them, right? But these last 2 or 3 months, I don't think there's been a single weekend that we haven't, like Mary just said, reward ourselves with, hey, we're going to go do something together as a couple, because we are now in this mode of we're going to reinvent ourselves as a couple, because we don't want to lose each other. We got to figure out what this next phase of our life is going to be, and you're in that phase as well, right? Whether you're in transition or whatever, and just find that thing that, let me go find some joy in something that I can do for the weekend. And maybe it's just hanging out with friends, or maybe it's treating yourself to Taste of Cincinnati, because I would never have really went there. I got to be honest. Like, I'm not a crowd person, right, when it comes to like things like that. But listen, it was a good time, and we have memories now from that, right? That I can celebrate for a long time. And Erica, you got to find those things, right? And celebrate the joy. I am statements are important to all of us, guys, right? I am. Okay. And a unemployed should not be the first thing on the list.
Well, I can give her a couple of good words: persistent and determined. Your thoughts are leading you into a persistent manner of wanting to be employed. So look at it in a positive way. And my granddaughter just got here, so I'm gonna go get her from the bus stop.
Stanford, go ahead.
You know, when I retired from my job at the year 2006, I got in a room. It was a dark room with nothing around me, just a blank pad and a pen. And I said to myself, what's really important to Sanford as a living person? Because everything's around you, it comes at you, and here you're in that dark room. And I came up with two things, and I suggest everyone to do that, is to say what's really important to you as a person, because people are not really working their passions or what they really want to do, and they're kind of involved with what's around your surroundings, and be it good or bad, and so and two things I came up with, okay, and you can ask that to a number of people, and they'll come out with my family, love, all this other stuff. And if I would ask Lamar or Rodney, what are the two things that would really be important to you? Okay? And I could share that with you. The first thing I came up with was your faith, your belief, your strength, how you, if you're down, surviving, how you can overcome different adversities, and it just the belief, there's something that can pull you when there's no one around. And the second thing I came up with is your health. What are you doing for yourself rather than for other people and favors, but you're neglecting yourself and your health, okay? And that's key, because without your health, you can't give that love. Without your health, you can't have that income to do better. So you have to be selfish of yourself in your health. And to overcome things, yeah, it's good to be around people like us, because we're outgoing and positive, and that's always that energy, that frequency, is try to be around that frequency to pull you through, or be your own frequency that will draw other people to you as a magnetic field, drawing, because you are giving something good in a negative world. If it's just a helping hand or hello, it's important to people that are really down. It's just the simple things. There are simple things in life that we overlook because we're looking at the big mountain, and we are neglecting to see the world not only within ourselves, but near us. And as you walk in that glow, I always say, walk in that positive stream. And I thought I'd share that with you.
Absolutely. So listen, I'm going to go back here to Sharon for a second. We'll get things wrapped up as we are nearing the end of our time with this. But, you know, guys, it's way too easy to look at the mountain ahead of you, right? And visualize nothing but a mountain. It's way too easy to go, oh, that's so hard, right? I want to encourage you guys, you have a better telescope on you, right? Look at the sunset, right? Look at the ocean. Look at yourself as those things, because that's what you are, right? You're not this mountain of rock. You might be as strong as one, but you are as beautiful as the sunset in the ocean, right? You are all a superhero of some sort. The question is, are you seeing yourself that way? Right. And this is what we were all just getting at, right? Sometimes we got to stop looking at everything that occurred to us in the past, just like all of those wheels that we're turning, right? And we got to focus on the present and what can be, right, in the future. And so hopefully you guys had some great conversations today and you enjoyed the folks that you were able to meet. Rob, appreciate you joining us, brother. That's awesome. That makes 20 for the year. Guys, we've got some great conversations coming up next week. We've got, I'm trying to pull my thing up, Kathy D'Agostino talking to us about, so if you're coming next week, I would encourage you to go back and check over previous YouTube episode. I'd have to look at the number, but it has to do with AI and prompt engineering. So Kathy's going to take on what we learned about a month and a half ago, and build on that for us so we can better understand how to use AI and prompt engineering in our transition, in our businesses, in our lives, right? To make things a little bit easier. For those of you who haven't watched it, I actually watched the movie yesterday, Atlas with J-Lo. And it has to do with AI, right? And really her fear of AI and stuff like this. But obviously it's an action movie too. Erica, you were shaking your head. Did you watch it too?
No, I keep seeing it as a suggested movie, and I wasn't interested, but now you're saying it's interesting, so.
I mean, if you like the action movie, but also kind of the you want
Science
to
fiction.
understand where technology could go, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer, like the most times that technology is thought out, right, or thought up, it's usually depicted in a movie somewhere, or in our filmmakers' minds or whatever, because that's kind of how life has went for us, right? And so, I mean, it's crazy that if AI could ever get to that point, right? It can be scary, and I think that's what most people are worried about. But in general, it's a great movie, action movie. Obviously, lots of fighting and banging up and stuff like that going on. Gina Martin's coming on 18 June to talk to us about our energy management. That's not electricity and gas, guys. Your energy management, right? And how you can actually use it to focus on the things that you need to focus on. Marita and Melissa are coming back to talk to us on the 25th of June about unlocking your mental power, kind of a carry on from today, defeating the saboteurs within you. July 4th, we're going to take off. We're not taking off, but we're going to take off from a subject line and probably just do some open networking and some discussions, maybe Bookshare, July 2nd. And then the 9th of July, Dr. Tanya English is coming in to talk to us. This is the one I'm most excited about because all of these tie together. It's called Subconscious Emotional Memory Override, and really teaching us how we can get control of our own thoughts.
Rodney, could you put that slide up so we could take a picture?
I sure can. I appreciate you asking that because I forgot I stopped sharing for a second. That should be it. So I'll leave that up. So we're wrapping up, guys. Go out there. Have a great week, everybody.
And challenge. If this is your first time, kind of digest what you learned today and then reach out to any of us. There's some of us that have been here for 4 years. We want to help. We want to help all of you, whether it's growing your business or job seekers or learning how to be in retirement, or learning how to be someone with all the kids are out of town now. Like, so we all have challenges.
So absolutely, go out there and have everybody.
Stop recording and I'll tell my biggest challenge.
Why do I have to stop?